Continuing our exploration of the five faces of Jezebel and the Luciferian spirits, we now turn our attention to another demon, the pleaser spirit, and its counterpart, the pleaser-based control spirit. This face of Jezebel and the Luciferian spirits operates differently from others, subtly manipulating its host through a facade of relentless people pleasing. In this video and section, we will examine the pleaser spirit in greater detail, dissecting how it influences behavior, relationships, and the deep-seated wounds that often form the foundation of this control. At its core, the pleaser spirit exerts control by exploiting a profound need for approval, often rooted in physical or emotional trauma experienced early in life. Many individuals hosting the pleaser spirit have endured forms of abuse, and the bruises, both literal and emotional, left behind shape their worldview. From these experiences of pain and shame, an inner vow is made: I will never be pitied again. This vow opens the door for their chief pleasing demon to amplify the relentless need to please. Rather than revisiting the hurt and vulnerability they faced as children, the host constructs a carefully maintained life of perfection, designed to ensure that no one can look down upon them or feel sorry for them. In this way, people-pleasing becomes a defense mechanism to counter the shame and guilt associated with their past abuse. This spirit compels its host to prioritize the opinions and expectations of others above all else, shaping their entire existence around the desire to be liked and accepted. The behavior stems from an exaggerated fear of disapproval, often referred to as the fear of man. The individuals controlled by the pleaser spirit may project the appearance of a perfect life, possessing well-manicured homes, well-behaved and educated children, luxury vehicles, and all the superficial markers of success. However, this image is a mere illusion, carefully crafted to mask a deeper internal struggle. The host believes that as long as this flawless exterior is maintained, others cannot disapprove of them. This, in turn, helps them avoid the pitiful looks they associate with their painful past. One of the most insidious aspects of the pleaser spirit is the way it warps both internal and external relationships. Externally, the spirit convinces the host that everyone they encounter harbors frustration or anger towards them. As a result, they live in a constant state of anxiety, striving to rectify this imagined disapproval through perfectionism. The only way to appease others, according to the demon's lie, is by continuing to build and preserve an artificial perfect life. Internally, however, the host may view the pleaser spirit as a sort of friend, offering comfort and reassurance, though this is an illusion, as it ultimately deepens their isolation. The pleaser spirit perpetuates a life devoid of genuine connection. While on the surface the host may appear to have it all together, they often suffer from significant emotional and psychological distress. In many cases, they are also in financial disarray, spending beyond their means in an effort to keep up with their neighbors or societal expectations. The external trappings of success are prioritized over real stability and emotional well-being, leading to a life of quiet desperation. Another major consequence of living under the pleaser spirit's influence is the profound disconnection from others. Those under its grip find themselves unable to connect emotionally, largely because they've internalized the belief that everyone around them is already angry or disappointed with them. This self-limiting belief, I must be doing something wrong to make life this way, creates a vicious cycle. The more they seek to please others through external perfection, the less they are able to share their true selves, fearing that authenticity will only lead to further rejection. As a result, their relationships become shallow and transactional, based on maintaining appearances rather than fostering real intimacy. In conclusion, the pleaser spirit manipulates through fear, leading its host to live a life of pretense, constantly striving to meet the imagined expectations of others. However, this pursuit of external perfection comes at a significant cost, both emotionally and material. Often, this behavior stems from the pain and shame of earlier life trauma where the host vowed never to be pitied again. While the superficial image may provide temporary relief, it ultimately deepens the wounds it seeks to conceal. True fulfillment lies not in pleasing others, but in embracing authenticity and deeper, more genuine connections, healing from the shame of the past rather than running from it. Inner healing from the pleaser spirit, embracing imperfection. Healing from the pleaser spirit is not an instantaneous deliverance from the compulsion to please, but rather a journey into vulnerability and the acceptance of imperfection. This process is intricately guided by God, who creates opportunities for the host of the pleaser spirit to step away from the exhausting pursuit of perfection and embrace their weaknesses. As Scripture reminds us, where we are weak, then Christ is strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. This profound truth holds the key to unlocking transformation and healing. Like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky, hosts of the pleaser spirit will be freed from the constant feeling that everyone is angry with them. A significant breakthrough that often happens swiftly through the grace of God. However, the deeply ingrained habit of needing to please won't disappear overnight. The years of poor choices and unhealthy patterns take time to dismantle. It's as if hosts of the pleaser spirit are learning to walk for the first time, like a baby deer taking its first wobbly steps as they begin to lean into vulnerability and release their need for approval as they renew their minds. God's plan for healing involves leading the host into situations where their imperfections are laid bare. These uncomfortable moments, once dreaded, now serve as a pathway to freedom. The beauty of this process lies in the growing realization that God's strength is made perfect in their weakness. For someone conditioned to find worth in external validation, learning to live in their imperfections is a monumental shift. Their role is to resist reverting to their old habits of perfectionism and instead allow God to work through their vulnerabilities. This journey isn't just about learning to tolerate imperfection, but embracing it as a gateway to freedom. It requires unlearning the lie that people only love those who appear flawless, and instead accepting the truth that vulnerability fosters genuine connection. When the host begins to show their weaknesses, they not only free themselves from the chains of approval, but also invite others to love them in a deeper, more authentic way. Consider the example of a lost child in a department store. When an adult sees a frightened, vulnerable child, they instinctively rush to help. Why? Because weakness and vulnerability naturally draw compassion. The same is true for those who have been under the grip of the pleaser spirit. As they find the courage to admit their struggles, whether emotional, financial, or otherwise, people will instinctively respond with care and support. Vulnerability paves the way for deeper human connection, and it is through this openness that true healing can begin. Hosts of the pleaser spirit often believe that their value lies in maintaining the illusion of a perfect life. Yet this very illusion acts as a barrier to forming genuine relationships. Others may view them as unapproachable or inauthentic, unable to connect because perfectionism is impossible standard. In contrast, when the host starts to share their real selves, complete with imperfections, fears, and failures, they invite real connection. People will love them not for their performance, but who they are. Sinful humans saved by grace. Just, having sorry, I'm just taking a step away from, what I wrote in advance of this, and just, it's like, we're all pigs in the slop of our sins, just come on in. The mud is warm. You're going to enjoy it. I promise. I promise that, once you give up this perfectionism and be okay with, who God made you to be, that it becomes a lovely way with so much more freedom. So, hopping back into what I wrote, as they lean into vulnerability, hosts will experience a profound shift in their relationship with God. Instead of striving to earn his love or approval, they will learn to rest in his grace. The pleaser spirit, which thrives on the lie that love must be earned, loses its hold when the host embraces the truth that God's love is unconditional. His power is most evident in our weaknesses. This is the heart of inner healing, coming to a place where the host no longer feels the need to perform or maintain a flawless image, but rests in the knowledge that they are already loved and accepted by God. Over time, this realization will embolden the host to take greater risks in vulnerability. They will begin to embrace situations that once filled them with fear, moments where they might be seen as imperfect, knowing that in these very moments that God's grace shines brightest. This is especially true when walking in the supernatural. Dr. Randy Clark humorously, said while answering a question on staying humble in supernatural ministry by saying, "I pray for the sick." Anyone who stepped out in faith to be used by Jesus for miracles knows that we don't always get it right, especially at first, and that's okay, because the goal isn't perfection. It's to draw closer to Jesus while sharing in his ministry of salvation. God's grace is sufficient no matter the outcome. Whether miracles occur or not, angels will minister to the heart of those pressing into the presence of the kingdom of heaven for their community. As this process unfolds, healing, hosts will experience a transformation in their relationships. They will transform from shallow transactional connections to deep, meaningful ones. The superficial friendships sustained by perfectionism will give way to authentic bonds as people are drawn not to the host's facade of perfection but to their genuine vulnerability. The more the host reveals their true self, the more others will relate to them and offer love, support, and understanding. Ultimately, inner healing from the pleaser spirit is a journey towards freedom. Freedom from the restless need for approval, freedom from the crippling fear of disapproval, and freedom to live authentically, even in imperfection. The host will learn that perfection is not a prerequisite for love. In fact, it is their imperfections that make them relatable and, in many ways, lovable. In conclusion, the deliverance from the pleaser spirit requires the host to walk through the uncomfortable process of embracing their weaknesses. It is a journey that challenges the very core of their identity, yet it brings them to a place of profound strength, Christ's strength. Little by little, they will shed the need to please and instead find the courage to be real, vulnerable, and imperfect. In doing so, they will discover the authentic love and relationships they've longed for. Most importantly, they will experience the freedom that comes from resting in God's grace, which is always sufficient in our weaknesses. If you or your loved ones are struggling with demonic oppression and you need deliverance, please visit our ministry online at www.aiih.org. From all of us at the As It Is in Heaven team, have a blessed day.